Dolby had broad rights to inspect Adobe's books and records through a third-party audit in order to verify the accuracy of Adobe's reporting of sales and payment of royalties. Guys, this is like taking the SATs right now, trying to keep Adobe and Dolby separate in my mind. This is a community-supported legal education channel. Find out how you can support our mission at the links in the description below. Matt Roszak writes, I just got an email from Adobe that I'm no longer allowed to use the software I'm paying for. Time to cancel my subscription. Share, please. And it says, Dear valued customer, at Adobe, we always strive to deliver more value to our customers. We have recently discontinued certain older versions of Creative Cloud applications, and as a result, you are no longer licensed to use them. Our records show that you may be using these following older versions. In this particular case, this person is allegedly using Flash 2015, which, like, I don't know if you guys remember the internet from 10 years ago, but Flash was like everything. So this Flash ran the internet back then. So, like, what are you gonna do when you take Flash away? That's just a little weird. And then it says, please be aware that should you continue to use the discontinued versions, you may be at risk of potential claims of infringement by third parties. Please upgrade to the latest version. By upgrading, you will continue to receive all the value. Here's what to do next, etc. And then, of course, they tell you you can contact Adobe's customer service, but I don't know if you've ever dealt with Adobe customer service. It's pretty useless. They basically just run you through a checklist, and I've only ever received help once, and that's when Adobe actually thought they did something wrong. And I'm not sure I'm ever going to receive customer service again unless Adobe actually thinks they did something wrong again. Anyway, so there's a lawsuit behind this that I think is what's going on, and I thought we could skim this because I don't really feel like reading 40 pages of Dolby versus Adobe licensing disagreement. But let's see what's in the introduction here. For over 50 years, Dolby has been a leader in innovation and delivering cutting-edge technologies. I'll agree with that. I use Dolby Atmos for location and everything when I play video games. I really do think Dolby makes good products. No shill or anything. Not a paid promotion, but I think that they're worthy of putting a paragraph about how awesome a company they are or whatever. Today, Dolby Technologies. I'm going to do this the whole time. I'm going to do Adobe. I'm going to end up doing this the whole time because it's Dolby versus Adobe. Today, Dolby Technologies can be found in cinemas, internet video services, optical disc players, DVD, Blu-ray, mobile media, digital broadcast TV, etc. It generally does not develop products directly for sale to end users, but rather for licensing. Dolby license agreements generally provide its partners with the opportunity to self-report their sales of products containing Dolby technology. In order to verify the accuracy of a licensee's reporting of sales and compliance with its other contractual obligations, however, Dolby has broad rights under its license agreements to inspect its licensee's books and records through a third-party audit. Because Dolby's technologies are so widely adopted, this audit right and enforcement of royalty obligations also serves the important function of ensuring a level playing field to prevent non-compliant licensees from gaining an unfair competitive advantage. Yeah, that sounds about right. Adobe, I said it right?
Yes.
Has refused to comply with its basic contractual obligations, and that makes it an outlier in this regard. Dolby has rarely been required to pursue legal enforcement of its license agreements, and only as a last resort. Adobe is a large and sophisticated software company, yet when licensing Dolby's technology, Adobe refused to comply with its legal obligations. Between 2002 and 2017, Adobe designed and sold its audio-video content creation and editing software with Dolby's industry-leading audio processing technologies. The basic terms of Adobe's licenses for products containing Dolby technologies are clear. When Adobe granted its customer a license to any Adobe product that contained Dolby technology, Adobe was contrarily obligated to report the sale to Dolby and pay the agreed-upon royalty. Adobe also promised that it would not sell products containing Dolby technology outside the scope of the licenses granted by Dolby. Under all of Adobe's license agreements with Dolby, Dolby had broad rights to inspect Adobe's books and records through a third-party audit in order to verify the accuracy of Adobe's reporting of sales and payment of royalties. Guys, this is like taking the SATs right now, trying to keep Adobe and Dolby separate in my mind. When Dolby sought to exercise its right to audit Adobe's books and records to ensure proper reporting and payment, Adobe refused to engage in even basic auditing and information sharing practices that Adobe itself had demanded of its own licensees. Adobe apparently determined that it was better to spend years withholding this information from Dolby than allow Dolby to understand the full scope of Adobe's contractual breaches. Yet the limited information that Dolby has reviewed to date demonstrates that Adobe included Dolby technologies in numerous Adobe software products and collections of products, but refused to report each sale or pay the agreed-upon royalties. While the full nature and extent of Adobe's breaches is currently unknown because of its refusal to comply with its audit obligations, Dolby has determined that Adobe's tactics have included bundling multiple licensed products together but only reporting one sale, granting numerous licenses to Adobe products but only reporting the sale to Dolby if and when Adobe or its customer took some further action, failing to report or pay royalties for multiple different product sales to a single customer, misreporting Adobe's professional products under incorrect license agreements, failing to report and pay royalties on upgrades to Adobe products as agreed in the license agreements, failing to report or incorrectly reporting the Dolby technology contained in Adobe products, and selling products containing Dolby technology without any license at all. These tactics enabled Adobe to include Dolby's technologies as near ubiquitous features in its software bundles and subscription packages, many of which were all-inclusive or organization-wide all-you-can-eat licenses, and thereby making its offerings more attractive to potential customers ranging from large companies to individual consumers. But in doing so, Adobe not only failed to compensate Dolby for its innovative and valuable technologies, it gained an unfair advantage in the marketplace. Dolby now brings this action to protect its intellectual property, maintain fairness across its licensing partnerships, and to fund the next generations of technology that empower the creative community which Dolby serves. And we're going to stop there on that one. This is just a complaint. It may have been served on Adobe, but it has not been answered yet. So we'll hit track on that lawsuit, and we'll get back to you when we hear more about that. But that may explain why Adobe sent out those notices. It's trying to limit its exposure to future license revenue claims from Dolby when the eventual audit is granted, because this, without even seeing the agreement, this is a standard provision in this kind of contract, especially between major corporations. And if there's any hint, even if there's not a hint, I think you're allowed to request reasonable reassurances. And even if it's not expressed, sometimes you're allowed to request an audit under certain circumstances. But since it's been expressed between the parties, allegedly, assuming that it is actually something that's in the agreement, then yeah, they'll get the right to audit Adobe's books.
Yep.
Not directly. They're going to hire a company, and that company's not going to say, by the way, Adobe's trade secrets are this, and their manager gets paid this much. No, they're just going to do the audit and then report back whether they violated the agreement or not.
Yeah, so it seems like a straight line breach of contract issue. We have a right to audit to make sure that you're reporting sales correctly. You're not doing that, so there's an issue here.
And one of the fun things here, it says complaint for copyright infringement and breach of contract. They will not get both.
No.
They would, for any one individual claim, they won't get both. It's possible that the total case could include some claims that are copyright infringement and some claims that are breach of contract. But generally speaking, if you have a contract for a licensing software or whatever, and you go and make illegal copies, you've breached the contract, not committed copyright infringement. It's one or the other, not both.
Yeah, I'd expect the copyright infringement to disappear and just go on a breach of contract. And we've got diversity of parties, so that's fine.
The sales would be the base for damages, and then there would be interest or other costs on top of that, and then including court costs and attorney's fees. But now we know, not including expert witness fees or investigatory fees or travel costs, just your court costs.
Unless they're otherwise apportioned for in the contract.
Unless they're apportioned for in the contract or some other rule applies. Your general fee shifting provision and now your copyright fee shifting provision don't apply to the expert witness cost and other costs. I keep saying this because it's a huge change, believe it or not.
But I'm not sure how much it would limit Adobe's liability to terminate their licenses that they already have, because Dolby's argument would be you've already done the sale of the license and the damages were complete. So I don't know that there would be ongoing liabilities. So I don't know how much it would limit their damages to terminate any licenses that have already been granted.
I think it's limiting future damage. Like, they've recognized that, we haven't been reporting our Dolby licenses properly. If we allow people to continue using versions from 3 years ago or whatever, Dolby's, maybe it's the way the contract's written. We might even be able to find a copy of the contract if you really wanted to do the deep dive. But I bet you they're paying for those today for the installations that people are still using them. And if they cut them off, they're not paying extra. Maybe it's only 2 years or something before they're...
Because these are old versions, so all the licenses that do exist already exist.
Yeah.
It's not like they're issuing any more of them.
Well, yeah, they probably are still selling Adobe's... I just did it again. Adobe is probably still selling Dolby's products inside, because Dolby is quite an industry standard. You'd want to be able to make your movies and run Audition using Dolby effects or Dolby compliant output or something like that.
But the only thing they're terminating is the old versions.
The only thing they're terminating is the old versions. So I'm assuming the old versions somehow cost them extra money.
Yeah. So
well, they're not currently selling it, but maybe if they're audited and they find out that there's still 10,000 people using Flash 15, Animate 15, and maybe their license is written in such a way that there's an extra fee for those legacy users.
Okay.
That's the only thing I can think of without seeing the contract. So thank you very much for joining us. That is our show. I am Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney, and this is Kurt Mueller, your favorite patent attorney. We are a community-supported legal education show called Lawful Masses, and we are supported by your monthly pledges on patreon.com/ljfrench and sponsors.org/u/lawfulmasses and twitch.tv/lawfulmasses, and this YouTube channel, of course. Thank you very much to our May 2019 supporters at the $50 level. Thank you to John Steele, Gavin Barnard, Evie, Andy, Kyle Mudrock, Veramentane, Michael Pierce, Terry Crisp, Richard Fournier, Spirit Bear, Jan Negray, Daniel Perez, Snorre Wizatsky, All Quixotic, and Aspernari. Thank you very much for your support at the $50 level. And all of the $5 plus supporters are on the LED panel above my head here and will be in the description of the videos that drop. So everyone have a great spring week here. We'll answer your questions here before we take the stream out, but I'm going to say thank you for joining us and have a great week.
Yes.
Bye.